Good morning, Patriots Nation. Everything around the Patriots offensive line suddenly feels very different after what we are starting to hear about Caleb Lomu, because this is no longer just another rookie being quietly developed in the background. The more information that comes out from inside the organization and from people close to the team, the clearer it becomes that New England may believe they found something much bigger than a normal first-round tackle. And honestly, Patriots fans should be paying very close attention to this situation because the future protection of Drake Maye could completely depend on how this entire plan develops over the next year. Right now, Caleb Lomu is technically not even projected as a starter. On paper, he enters the season behind Morgan Moses, and the Patriots are treating him like a developmental piece that can slowly learn the system before eventually taking over a major role. But when you start looking deeper into the details, you realize the coaching staff may already see him as much more than just a backup tackle. The physical profile alone is absurd. At 6'6" and over 330 pounds with massive arm length, Lomu immediately gives the Patriots something they have been missing on the offensive line for years: a true prototype tackle with elite physical traits. And this is important because Patriots fans have suffered through years of instability on the offensive line. It felt like every single season the team was trying to patch holes together with temporary solutions, inconsistent veterans, or draft picks that never fully developed. The organization kept searching for long-term answers and rarely found them. Sometimes they would uncover a solid player for a short period, but the consistency was never there. That is why this Caleb Lomu situation feels different inside New England right now. What makes this even more interesting is that the Patriots are not rushing him onto the field immediately, and that may actually be the smartest thing they could do. Instead of throwing him into chaos right away, the team appears committed to letting him develop behind Morgan Moses while learning both tackle positions. That matters because versatility is becoming a huge theme around this offensive line rebuild. The Patriots want flexibility. They want players who can move around depending on what happens with the roster in the future. And according to everything being discussed around the team, Lomu has already shown the willingness to do exactly that. The biggest debate now is where he will actually play long term. Throughout his college career, he spent almost all of his snaps at left tackle. That is the position he knows best. That is where he dominated. Last season alone, he played around 800 snaps at left tackle and barely saw time on the right side. But now that he is in New England, the Patriots are asking a very important question behind the scenes. Can he eventually become the franchise left tackle if necessary? That is where this entire conversation becomes extremely complicated for the Patriots, because Will Campbell is still expected to be the long-term answer at left tackle. The organization drafted him with that vision in mind. Elliott Wolf has publicly supported him at the position, and the Patriots clearly do not want to create the appearance that they are already reconsidering that decision. But at the same time, there are now real questions emerging about whether Campbell will permanently stay there. One report especially started getting attention among Patriots fans because Andrew Callahan from the Boston Herald revealed that there is apparently no guarantee in the Patriots' eyes that Will Campbell remains at left tackle for the next several years. And the second that information came out, everything around Caleb Lomu suddenly became even more important because now Patriots fans are starting to connect the dots. If Campbell struggles again, especially after dealing with injury issues that clearly affected his play late last season, then New England may eventually have to make a difficult decision about the future structure of the offensive line. Before the injury, Campbell actually looked solid. His pass protection numbers were respectable, and he was playing at a high level, but after returning, his performances dropped badly. The pressure numbers exploded, the sacks increased dramatically, and Drake Maye constantly found himself under pressure during critical moments. That is why the Patriots are giving Campbell another opportunity now that he is healthy again. The organization wants to see whether those struggles were truly injury related, or if there are deeper concerns about his long-term future at left tackle. But while all of that is happening, Caleb Lomu continues sitting in the background as this massive insurance policy with enormous upside. And honestly, when you look at Lomu's actual production, it is easy to understand why the Patriots are so excited. The numbers are ridiculous. 0 sacks allowed last season, only 8 pressures given up all year, just 2 quarterback hits allowed despite hundreds of pass blocking snaps. Those are elite protection numbers, especially for a player with his size and athleticism. On top of that, his athletic testing testing made it even more impressive. For someone weighing over 330 pounds, his movement skills shocked a lot of evaluators. The Patriots clearly believe Doug Marrone can continue refining his technique and fully unlock his ceiling. What makes this even more dangerous for opposing defenses is the possibility that New England may finally be building a complete young offensive line around Drake Maye. You already have Morgan Moses bringing veteran experience. Mike Onwenu remains one of the key pieces inside. Jared Wilson is another young player the team likes. Then you add Caleb Lomu into the future plans, and suddenly, Patriots fans can actually start imagining stability protecting their franchise quarterback for years. And the Patriots may not even be done building depth either. There is growing excitement around Demetrius Crownover as another possible developmental tackle who could eventually compete for a bigger role down the line. So now the conversation is no longer just about fixing one problem. New England is trying to completely rebuild the identity of the offensive line from the ground up. The scary part for the rest of the AFC is that if Caleb Lomu actually develops the way the Patriots believe he can, this offensive line could eventually become one of the biggest strengths of the entire roster. And if that happens, Drake Maye's development could accelerate much faster than people expect. But here is the question Patriots fans now have to think about very seriously. If Caleb Lomu eventually proves he can dominate at left tackle, what should the Patriots do with Will Campbell long term? Because the deeper you look into this situation, the more it feels like the Patriots are quietly preparing for multiple possible outcomes at the same time. They are publicly supporting Will Campbell as the future left tackle, but internally they are also building protection around themselves in case things do not go according to plan. And honestly, smart organizations do exactly that. They never leave themselves trapped with only one option, especially when it comes to protecting a young franchise quarterback like Drake Maye. What makes this even more fascinating is that Caleb Lomu does not seem bothered by any of the uncertainty. From everything being said around the team, he has embraced the idea of playing anywhere the Patriots need him. Left tackle, right tackle, extra offensive lineman packages, swing tackle duties. It apparently does not matter to him. He just wants to get onto the field, and that mindset alone is probably making the coaching staff love him even more right now. But make no mistake, the Patriots are absolutely thinking long term here. Morgan Moses was brought in to stabilize the line immediately, but everybody understands he is not the permanent future. He is the veteran bridge. He is the experienced presence that can help the younger players develop while still giving Drake Maye reliable protection right now. And that is exactly why so many people inside the fan base believe Lomu is eventually being groomed to take that role over completely. The interesting part is how quickly things could change depending on what happens during training camp and the regular season, because once padded practices begin and the real competition starts, people are going to watch every single rep between these tackles. Every mistake from Campbell will get attention. Every strong performance from Lomu will create more pressure and more discussion among the fan base. That is just how it works when a first-round talent with elite upside is waiting behind another highly drafted player. And honestly, there is already a growing feeling that the Patriots may have landed one of the biggest steals of the draft if Lomu reaches his ceiling. Some evaluators believed he was not fully NFL ready yet because his technique still needs refinement, especially in run-blocking situations, but the raw tools are undeniable. His pass protection ability already looks advanced, and in today's NFL, that is the single most valuable trait an offensive tackle can have. Keeping your quarterback upright matters more than anything. That is why Patriots fans should also pay attention to Doug Marrone's role in all of this. The organization clearly believes their coaching staff can maximize Lomu's potential over time. And if Marrone successfully develops him while Campbell returns to form healthy, then suddenly New England could have something they have not had in years: legitimate tackle depth with multiple starting caliber players. Think about how rare that is in the NFL right now. Most teams are desperate just to find one reliable tackle. The Patriots are now potentially building a situation where they could have three. Morgan Moses gives them veteran stability today. Will Campbell still has enormous upside if healthy, and Caleb Lomu might eventually become the highest ceiling player of the entire group. That is why this conversation is getting bigger and bigger around the organization. There is also another layer to this that Patriots fans cannot ignore. Everything this franchise does now revolves around maximizing Drake Maye's future. The Patriots know they finally have a quarterback worth building around again. They know the rebuild only works if Maye develops correctly, and after what happened last season with the offensive line constantly collapsing around him, protecting him became the #1 priority. That is exactly why the team attacked attack the offensive line so aggressively. They understand that no matter how talented Drake Maye is, he cannot develop properly if he is constantly under pressure. The front office saw the problems. They saw the hits he was taking. They saw the inconsistency up front, and now they are trying to completely change the identity of the offense before those problems damage the growth of their young quarterback. And if we are being honest, Caleb Lomu might become one of the most important pieces of that entire rebuild. Not because he has to start immediately, but because his development could determine how dominant this offensive line becomes 2 or 3 years from now. That is the long game New England is playing here. You can already see hints of the vision they are trying to create. Massive linemen with athleticism, players capable of moving in space while still dominating in pass protection, versatility across the line, younger talent developing behind experienced veterans. The Patriots are trying to build a modern offensive line capable of competing against the elite pass rushers across the AFC for years. And if this works, it changes everything for the offense. Suddenly Drake Maye has time in the pocket. The passing game becomes more dangerous. The running game improves. The playbook opens up. The confidence of the entire offense changes when the quarterback trusts the protection in front of him. But there is still pressure attached to all of this because eventually somebody will have to make difficult decisions. If Campbell thrives, then Lomu probably settles in as the long-term right tackle after Morgan Moses moves on. But if Campbell struggles again, especially in big moments, the Patriots may eventually face a situation nobody expected this early, deciding whether Caleb Lomu is actually the better option to protect Drake Maye's blind side. And if that moment ever comes, the pressure around the entire offensive line situation in New England will explode instantly. So now the real question becomes this: do Patriots fans believe Caleb Lomu is eventually going to become the best offensive tackle on the entire roster? And the reason that question matters so much is because the Patriots are no longer dealing with a normal developmental prospect here. Caleb Lomu is entering a situation where expectations are already starting to grow faster than anybody anticipated. You can feel it building among people covering the team. Every report about his size, athleticism, and pass protection ability keeps adding more fuel to the conversation, and now fans are beginning to wonder whether New England accidentally found a future franchise tackle without even needing him to start immediately. What stands out the most is how calm the Patriots seem about the entire process. Usually when a team drafts a tackle highly, there is immediate panic